Welcome everyone to the second annual SDC Town Hall meeting. What we're going to do with this is the beginning of our year, even though we have already kind of had a couple events, kicked off new programs and stuff like that. We're going to basically just lay out the roadmap for 2020, let everyone know basically what we're planning on doing. We have most of the directors here, so we'll have them introduce themselves so everybody knows kind of who's who. I'm Nathan Allsauce, I'm the president of Sacramento Developer Collective. Peter Hansel is the vice president. Kyle Wynn is actually a director. Jeremy Jones is the director. Jenny Yao is the director, and Trevor Barrington is the director. So that's your board of directors. We have 3 people over here.
3, yeah.
Yeah, so there's 3 other directors as well. So let me just go ahead and get started. So our 2019 goals that we laid out last year was to establish SDC as a nonprofit corporation, establish funding sources, reestablish an annual show, plan and schedule a year's worth of activities, and create a new advocacy program. We did all but one of those. We didn't actually get to the advocacy program just because we had a lot of stuff that we were basically working on, and we just didn't have time to do that. We did establish SDC as a nonprofit corp. We got our 501c3, I think, shortly after our town hall meeting last year. We brought back our annual show, Capital Creative Showcase. I think most of you actually went to that. And we had an extended long progressive game jam, which I think was a little bit too long for most people's taste. And we've got some changes to that we're going to talk about this year. And our funding sources, we don't have like a whole lot of grants or any of that kind of stuff, but we introduced sponsorships. EA Capital Games was a huge sponsor for Capital Creative Showcase. We have SDC memberships, we did a couple of fundraisers, and so we did actually bring in, I think it was something like $5,000 to $6,000 or like kind of donations and stuff like that. So we did a 2-bet in 2019. And essentially that is one over there, so we'll just skip that. 2020, we're going to basically continue to grow our event schedule. We, at times last year, I think had too much of a lull, and we got kind of that feedback. Trevor's a huge part of our Discord and really monitors the community. And so with Capital Creative Showcase being a huge endeavor for us, because it was the first time we did an annual show, I think we kind of let everything else go. I think everybody kind of realized that it's important to get that off the ground. So we actually do have a number of events that we have going, and we're going to have a much more aggressive schedule this year, and it should be fairly regular. You should have at least 1 or 2 events every month throughout the entire year. Expand funding sources. We are bringing a couple more directors on board. Our total board count should be 11, which I believe we have 2 more open spots.
Correct.
That the board of directors will appoint the new directors, and we're working on that. Out of that, we hope to get basically a fundraising committee chair, which will help us actually build funding sources.
Fill in the chair at least.
Yep. In terms of our public communication, because we were so busy running the SDC and all that kind of stuff, we didn't really interact or put out publications as much, and we want to actually improve on that. That's another 2020 goal. And expand our community involvement, really just doing more things with the community, with the events as being one of it, but also with partnerships, with collaborating with other organizations in Sacramento. So we will continue our legacy events. These are the ones that we've been doing for years, and so we're going to continue to do that. Progressive Game Jam 2020, it's our new logo, Capital Creative Showcase. We do actually have a new logo, you'll see that later in the slides. The Global Game Jam, we just hosted that, I want to say 2 weekends ago? It was last weekend, was it?
Might have been last weekend, actually.
2 weeks sounds good.
Yeah, close enough.
Everything's been flying by so much. It was a fantastic event. We actually had it here. We had this place packed. We actually ran a live show for Game Players United, which is a local game variety show that's trying to kick off. And we had Sac Town Underground, which is on Access Sacramento, which is public broadcast TV. That's going to air on February 12th. So we'll put that out on our social media so people know to watch that. GGJ Next is the Global Game Jam for Youth. We ran that last summer. We'll do it again this summer. Social mixers, we've already had one this year. We're trying to do one of those every quarter if we can. And educational workshops. And I'll let Kyle actually talk more about the educational workshops because we're kind of aligning them. in the way with the PTK. So our partner community events, we actually do a lot with the other organizations. We had SAC Gamers Expo, where SDC has taken the place of what Square One Clubs used to do, and we basically feature the whole indie dev room at SAC Gamers Expo. SDC members now get their tables free. We actually passed on the Square One Clubs benefit to SDC. California State Fair, they had their very first Golden Bear Esports tournament and indie showcase. That was Jay Gist, one of our partners that we collaborate with, who actually hosted that, and they invited us in, and so we had, we have some presence there, and we will do that again this year.
Is that happening this summer?
Yes. Square Root Academy, that's the people who actually run this place. The Great STEM Summit, we've done that 2 years in a row. We will do it again this year. Hack the Park and 5,000 Watts are their other activities. We expect to continue with that. They're a great organization. They really help us out a lot, and we like what they do. So, we had our first Crocker Art Mix for the artists in the community. That basically is at the Crocker Art Museum. So all the people who are game artists and stuff like that, they got a little space in there and have the little shindig that they do out there. And we will probably continue with those as well. District 8 Park Days, we got invited by the city of Sacramento to actually go to Harambe Festival, and I went out there for that, and I had a good time with that. The Sacramento Unity Users Group and the Unreal Engine Users Group, SDC doesn't run those, but we definitely support them as much as we can to try to keep those going. Dev Days. These are new events coming up, and actually, do you want to actually come up and talk about that real quick?
Sure.
Alright, so Dev Days was basically the brainchild of Trevor, so I'm going to have him come up and kind of explain what that is real quick.
Sure.
So, me and Kyle collaborated on this from the beginning. There was a need in the community. We needed an event that was going to be very low stress compared to like a social mixer or a game jam, and also an opportunity to work on games together and meet friends and socialize all at the same time. So we thought, why not something like that? We brought it to the library, in a central location. We've had it once so far. I'd say it was pretty good. A lot of new people showed up that we've never seen before. But I think it's a critical need that the community was waiting for.
Yeah, we had a lot of very specifically driven programs that have gone throughout the years. We had Progressive Game Jam where you made a game, but for people who worked on their own, people who wanted to develop on their, by themselves, or people who wanted to just work on other small projects on their own free time, there wasn't really an opportunity to kind of work with other people in the community and kind of just meet up in that way. The social mixers were mainly socially focused as opposed to productivity focused, or hey, check out this game I'm working on. It's kind of hard to bring your laptop into a bar and kind of show people what you've been doing. So this kind of provided people with a framework to have it be a little bit more loosey-goosey. Whatever you want to do, if you want to come in and just draw stuff, you can. If you want to come in and work on a game, work on homework, work on music and stuff, there's all sorts of different things that are in there, in the makerspace and for the library that allows a lot of those different opportunities.
Yeah, one thing I noticed is we had a few board game people show up, and they were using the 3D printer to build pieces, which was amazing. So it's not just digital; it's also physical development of games as well. Do you want to talk about
So, PTK Junior, normally I wouldn't have included this in the roadmap because it is a concept, it is still undeveloped. Normally we would only have stuff that basically is already in the works in the roadmap. The reason why I actually put this in here is because it has gotten kind of a little bit past the concept stage, and the fact that I'm writing sort of a syllabus or course framework basically to try to pitch it for funds. And we're working with Nicholas Hastings at Square Root Academy on that, so that we can do this. And essentially it's going to be like a summer camp, maybe like a week-long kind of thing, and we'll actually do a very accelerated progressive game jam it's highly mentored. In other words, it's very structured, it's kind of on rails, but you let the kids kind of expand with some of their artwork and stuff as they go through it, but you take them through a very abbreviated development life cycle. So it's, again, concept. We don't have this like on the schedule yet, but there is a chance, and Nicholas is kind of trying to push me to try to get it, funded and written and actually pushed out for this year. So we are seriously considering that. Progressive Game Jam 2020. We made some huge changes to it this year. There's been a lot of work, and I want to thank Kyle for all the effort he's put into it, which has been huge. And have him come up and kind of give you more details on that.
So for Progressive Game Jam 2020, I guess the initial idea for the program was to have a longer form game development program that normally at game jams you don't really have a quite finished product. You've got a great little idea, but it doesn't really come into fruition or turn into anything big. Progressive Game Jam was trying to change that and have a fully realized and created game by the time it was done. But we had issues with teams dropping off. We had issues with people who feel like they didn't have quite enough guidance, and so I technically led it last year, but I kind of came in a couple months in, so I couldn't do a lot to change it. I had to just work with what I had. This last year, though, for 2020, I had lots of time to make a ton of different changes to hopefully increase the amount of great games that we had coming out of it. So one of the things that was created was establishing the executive producer role, which is the role I assumed, and that is one person who's in charge of all the teams to make sure all the teams have everything they need to work. Usually in the past we were a little bit hands-off with this is what you're supposed to do, and then go ahead and have fun, make your game. I'm much more involved with the teams now. I've been talking with the team leads, Jin, who's one of them, about completing their idea and getting it established, figuring out exactly what they need, figuring out what's blocking them or what they need help with, advising with as well. We have changed our period a little bit. We used to have 8 months. Last year was, I think, almost a year because of our scheduling change. We're doing a 7-month jam with the first month exclusively for pre-production, and so planning out these ideas a bit more, making sure that they're fleshed out enough to be created and shipped on time. Official entries we had last year and the years prior, we had games that kind of came in that were already half started, games that were not really being worked on entirely in the program. Now we're having everything start at day one. Everyone kind of start at the same timeline and work from there. Like I said, I greatly expanded the pitch formats. We had we had pitch structure that needed to be filled out. We had a rubric that we graded each pitch on to make sure whether or not they were well thought out, whether they had all the essential ideas needed, whether they were small enough to be shipped within the timeline. And also now we're being much more intentional on how we built our teams, making sure that no one gets left behind, making sure everyone has everything that's necessary, making sure everyone gets on the project that they want to be on. Because in past years, if you didn't get your idea picked, a lot of people just went home because they didn't want to work on another project or whatever. We're trying to get people much more invested in every single project so that they have the ownership in the end. The other thing is, it felt like a lot of times we had educational events that were sporadically throughout the year. This year we are doing one per month, right alongside of the Progressive Game Jam. And so we just had our game engines workshop last month. We're having production this month, and we're gonna have game design, art, animation, audio, marketing, and we're gonna kind of cover the entire gamut of what all is involved in game design and game development. And then lastly, and I think probably most importantly, is improved mentorship. We now have I think 5 or 6 industry mentors. Nathan and Peter are 2 of them. We also have Jonathan, who's a freelance artist, as well as 4 or 5 folks from EA Capital Games, producers, game designers, etc. there, who helped with the pitch day and helped get the pitches kind of fleshed out, and we'll be working with the team leads and team members directly to answer questions, provide guidance, help them figure things out a little bit more as well. And so I think with all of these, we should have a much more clear idea and much higher rate of games being finished and shipped, and have lots more to show at Capital Creative Showcase.
We also have the Slack.
Yes, we also, one last thing, we also do have a much more formatted place for people to communicate with the mentors, with myself, with each other, and that is one universal Slack group that everyone can kind of utilize to stay in communication.
Leading to Capital Creative Showcase, which Eric could not make it today, so I'm going to go ahead and cover it for him. Capital Creative Showcase 2020 is going to happen on September 12th, 2020. That happens to be National Video Games Day, which is, we kind of picked that time of year because we kind of wanted it around National Video Games Day. We get lucky this year because 2020 it's actually on a Saturday, hence that's our day. So National Video Game Day 2020, it's going to actually be at the same location. We're going to have it at West Sacramento Community Center. And we're going to do largely the same thing we did, just, more fun, more activities and stuff like that. And you can see that picture. We had, pretty good turnout. We had a lot of fun. We had a women in games thing, and we had a couple of talks and stuff like that. So we'll be announcing more details about what is going to be happening, what's going to be at the theater and all that kind of stuff as things are developing. And we will be changing over the website here pretty soon with the save the date. And we'll use that for communication as to all the other things as they get flushed out. So membership is one of the things that we actually instituted last year. We do actually have, I think at this point in time, not a whole lot, but we have like 5 or 6 paying members. It's an annual commitment, it's $50. What it does is it helps us fund the activities that we do, because for the most part, we don't charge for any of our activities. Most everything that we do is free. Progressive Game Jam is free. The educational workshops are free. The only thing that we do actually charge for is Capital Creative Showcase. It's very reasonable. It's like $15, $20. It's $15 up until the door. So that's a very reasonable cost, considering the cost that we have to, put out to actually put it on. But what we do get if you actually, support us with the membership is we have a number of different discounts that we're trying to build in, and we're actually adding more and more of these as we develop this. You would actually, as an independent developer, be able to get a booth at Capital Creative Showcase for free. Everybody else would have to pay a booth fee, or you would just get 2 free tickets if you're not a developer. The other thing that's actually really crucial and important about being an SDC member is you're actually kind of a part of the organization, an official part of it. So when we actually have our November members meeting, where we actually pick our directors, we didn't get a chance to do it this year because everything had just kind of started out. This November, we will actually have an SDC members meeting, and we will actually elect our new directors for 2021 at that meeting. So you'll have an official vote being an SDC member. We'll try to get members-only events. We didn't do that last year. We just didn't get enough events out last year. And we're going to try to do a quarterly newsletter for members only. And we'll probably have like a monthly email blast as much as we can for everybody, but the members will get, more specifically what's going on kind of behind the scenes. That's part of our trying to improve communications this year. And a copy of the annual report, which I actually went out to the car to go get, and I did not get. That's going to be published on our website. We pretty much have that done. I was going to actually kind of show you a hard copy of it. I didn't bring it in. So that'll be done probably this weekend. You'll probably see that by next week, because that's pretty much officially done. It has our financials in there. We are required to actually publish stuff because we're a public nonprofit corporation. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, it'll be there. A lot of what we have here is talked about in the annual report as well. And other discounts, because we're a nonprofit, we actually have access to a number of different deals, like Adobe. You can get the full Adobe Creative Cloud Suite for like $19.99 a month, which is I think like $30 or $40 cheaper than the normal one, if you're an SDC member. So these are the kind of things that we're trying to line up more and more. Fundraising. So we actually did not have as many fundraising events last year as we were kind of hoping to. We did have our auction. That auction did bring in some money last year. We're going to try to do more. It's easy to do a social mixer at like a pizza place or something like that where they do a profit share. So we're going to try to actually get some of those out, maybe do 2 or 3 of those. We do have a sponsorship program that we've established, and we actually, I think, made some, I want to say $3,200 of sponsorship money last year. So we're gonna try to improve on that and try to get people to sponsor some of our events. CCS is the big one, but I'd love to try to see if we can get some sponsors for PDJ and stuff like that, so we'll be working on that. Bake sales, other activities that we're doing, donation drives, stuff like that. So I do want to have Raina, and you wanna come up with her?
She's
Alright,
got
so
the,
Raina,
she's got the
talk
lock on
about the
that.
auction.
I'm just doing the tech work.
Because we are doing an auction, and like we asked if anyone actually had items to donate to kind of bring it here, but if not, then Randy can tell you how to get it, to us.
So we are doing our auction differently this year. Last year was the first year we tried doing a fundraising auction, and it was an auction through Facebook. So just posting things on there through pictures, and people got to do their bids through the comments. This year, Nathan created a eBay charity page, which is attached to my eBay account, because I'm a top-rated power seller, so I get higher search results and stuff, and I sell to the world. 100% of the proceeds that sell from the SDC charity page will go to the SDC, and that's all of my listing details I can get. Jen's gonna help share via different social media sites so we can get some more people participating. Also, if you have anything tangible that you want to donate to sell, the info's on the SDC page, because I have been posting some things on there, so that's the easiest place to find it. And I did post something through Discord, which Jen and Trevor, I'm pretty sure you two have seen that. So anything you guys can donate can help generate more revenue so that we can get more things going. I don't know what else you
Plus,
want.
we can do tax, if you need tax forms for
Yes.
the donation, it will come
Because
in
it's
the
a
auction.
501c3. And we also have PayPal charity, what's it called? The PayPal Giving Fund. So if anybody has like cash donations that they'd rather make over tangible items, there's that, and those links are provided on Facebook as well.
And PayPal actually provides the receipt for you when you donate through PayPal directly.
Yes, but if it's through tangible items, I guess if you want something for that, then we have the number that we can give you, so for tax
No, we'll give you
purposes.
the actual form because it's printed out of eBay.
There you go, okay.
Yeah.
So,
And we did get a donation from Sacramento Kings.
yes, Sacramento Kings donated. We have another person that's going to be giving us a bunch of vintage video games and stuff pretty soon. It probably won't make it this weekend because I'm going to start the auctions tonight or tomorrow and throughout the week. But once we get more of those items in, then those will be posted as well. So, yeah, Fight Me Games donated, Pete donated, thank you, board games, master pads. I run Silent Bazaar because I have online stuff that I do. I have stores and stuff I run anyways. And I donated a bunch of geekery items, comic book frames, and a bunch of canvas art and stuff. So that'll be part of that.
And I still got more that I gotta get you guys to.
Yes.
They got a whole garage full of stuff I can donate.
Yes. Just gotta get up there and clear it out.
Okay, so 2019, essentially most of our stuff was spent on events. Primarily, most of our money was actually spent on Capital Creative Showcase. So we spent 18% of the money that we actually brought in 2019 on, like, we have to pay fees for the 501c3 registration, all that kind of stuff. We don't have salaries and stuff like that, so honestly, most of that 18% was really just in, like, registration fees and all that kind of thing. Everything else essentially went to Capital Creative Showcase and the events that we do. So we bought, some folding tables, we bought a couple of different things that we needed to actually make all that stuff work, and so we had a little bit of supplies and event costs. We had to pay for the venue, which was probably half of that. In 2020, we expect to continue that our community events and activities are probably going to be the biggest part. We would actually like to try to put some money into education workshops. This may be in part like Progressive Game Jam Junior. There may be some stuff there that will actually have some costs of paying for an instructor, or something like that. So we're putting a little bit of money aside for education and workshops. We're lowering our support services to about 15% because we know that we'll still have some, fees and registration stuff. But the bulk of it's going to be our events because that's really what we're spending money on right now. Because, like I said, we don't have any, employees that we have to pay or anything like that. So it's really just funding the events. And that's it. So that's everything that we had talked about. This is basically the question and answer part. So if anyone has any questions, what is SDC? What is our goals? If there's anything in here that we didn't cover, what's our next event? Any of those kind of questions, feel free to ask. Come on in.
Something that brought up frequent historical clubs, is there any plan on expanding with the membership, expanding services for things like stay or for very little benefit for something that's an open source product?
We absolutely can, and we
Can
can
you
do that. So
repeat the
basically, using the 501c3 status, we're part of a website called TechSoup. And TechSoup basically allows you to say like, hey, we're a nonprofit, let's get some discount on Microsoft stuff, let's get some discount on Lenovo stuff, IBM, whatever. I've already done some of that. So like you can get a discount on Lenovo products right now, so if you want to buy a laptop, you get a discount. Hacker Lab has already offered us a 25% discount. So 25% discount on memberships at Hacker Lab, and we're going to be lining up more and more of those as we go.
Let's have discounts more about services. So for instance, having it so that there is a place where we can host our Git repositories without having to pay, or be limited to only 3 members, by the other
Google.
things.
The Google Drive service that we have.
So G Suite and Microsoft Office 365 are both online services that you'll have access to. We actually, the board actually uses one already on G Suite, and I already set one up on Microsoft, which we don't use yet, but I mean those would be available as well. What Square One Clubs did, which was kind of how you started the question, the only thing I can say with that
No,
is,
I was saying, I was proposing for Square One Clubs, because there's never really been much in the way of a hosting service or, things to let us collaborate without having to pay these, third parties, services.
yeah, I mean, so like I think where you could probably get some stuff is like AWS, Amazon Web Services, Azure. In fact, I think actually some credits come through with the Microsoft thing that we got.
I was just saying, for instance, if you have a location with a business grade internet, just a simple server box that you can provide, get hosted to quite a few teams.
Right, but so if it's self-provided services, that would be a little more difficult. And the reason being is because we don't have a physical location.
Yeah.
So we kind of struggle with that. Now, however, Lab 7 would like us to have a physical location right here in one of these 3 offices. The problem is that when it comes to actually funding, they would want to charge like $500-600 a month for these offices. We don't have the money to do that.
Correct.
We won't pay that because we know Nicholas very well and we actually work and stuff. But we also don't want to just basically try to get a free space because that really puts him out because he still has to pay for all this. It's kind of the Square One Clubs argument, right? It's like it was a great place, we really enjoyed it, but if there's nothing coming in to actually pay for it, someone's paying for it, and ultimately that didn't work out. So we don't really want to put Lab 7 in that same spot. That could come from a grant money, which is I'd like to see that. I'd like to have like a Google or some big company give us like $50,000 a year to cover our costs. If we get to that point, yes, we can do that. But right now, that's a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
And you had a question, Pete?
Yeah, well, I mean, we just ordered hosting for a year and a URL and spent like not much money, $30-40 bucks. But every time you make a game, you want to do that. You want to get the URL, you want to get hosting for a year or 2. And if TechSoup had a free or reduced option for that, that'd be great.
Actually, Azure or AWS are probably the best options because they give you basically a virtual server. You put whatever you want on the server. And then you basically have, I think, a certain amount of bandwidth per month. And I'm going to give that. And if that's something we can do.
Because I would think every single Progressive Game Jam game from this series is going to want to have a website by the end of the year.
Right. Well, so, I mean, we do need to talk as a board basically about moving over the GoDaddy to SDC paid for it. Because right now I'm currently paying for it. Once we do that, we'll have a Linux server, a cPanel server, and that could potentially do that. But that would also be on the same spot as our web pages. So like if it became a bandwidth issue, then we'd be competing with our normal public services. So we'll have to talk about that as a board.
As long as we're not pulling a lot of posts, we should be fine. But
Yeah, and Git's free, right? So you're just talking about like just a normal repo that's a private repo?
There's quite a few different, variations in what they provide, but,
well, Git's free for public. If you wanted a private, it changes.
Well,
You've got to pay for that.
Well, no, that's depending on who's providing it.
Correct. So we would have to pay for a private access, otherwise Git's free for if you have public access.
By the way, is anybody on the board writing this down? Because I don't have anything to write down. Okay,
Yeah.
you're writing the questions down? Okay.
The cameras.
Oh, camera, there we go. So I'll do that, I'll repeat the questions, make sure the camera actually gets it, because I'm not sure how the sound is. But the board, we should talk about that basically when we get done.
If you could repeat the questions people are saying when we get there.
Yep, absolutely. All right, any other questions?
Last year, we made a great poster for the showcase. And I think everybody who's a member should get a poster. If we ordered like 10 or 12 or 20 of them, they'd be pretty cheap. We ordered 3, they're pretty expensive, right?
We might actually have enough
What's that?
of the CCS posters left.
Right, I'm just saying that that should be a member benefit.
Are you talking about like 2020?
Yeah, just like, we'll give everybody, not the big movie size, but like
Right.
tablet size. It was a cool thing.
Yeah. So the question was basically, we should actually offer other perks like have the CCS poster available to members, and I think that's a great question, or a great suggestion.
I was actually just wondering if this group basically, well, as a first timer, focus on game development or?
Yes, actually, that's our primary focus is
Yes.
spec. So the question was, whether we focus on game development. We actually are trying to kind of have a bigger vision of video game development and creative arts, but our focus has pretty much always been almost exclusively video game development because that's where we started in 2007 when we became a meetup group, and that's basically all we've done. So we haven't really expanded to like the whole creative market yet, other than some of the stuff we do, like the art mix that we have, which is just artists.
And the film festival, so we've lightly spread, it's just we don't have enough representatives representing.
And we will never really change our primary focus from being video game developers, I don't think. I think that that's really a big part of who we are, it's kind of our identity. So Casual Dead Days is an example where basically it's about video game development, talking about game development. Progressive Game Jam is exclusively a game jam for video game development. And Capital Creative Showcase is a showcase where the bulk of the showcase people are basically independent video game developers. And so they show off their game to the public and stuff like that. So there's a huge focus on development.
I feel like I've gotten a lot of visibility for my games from this group. And I look at SDC for myself, my game work, as a place to get to events, often for free, to show my games, and to really have a place to talk about my stuff and put it out there and get feedback. And so for me, SDC hasn't really been about game development, because most of the development is kind of happening out of this, but it's all been a lot about exposure. And
Networking, marketing.
door tickets to showcases and Sac Gamers Expo and all these events, art mix where I get a free table to show my game and do whatever I want with it. And to me, that's been a huge benefit.
We used SDC for both Master Pads, which is not a video game, and when way back in the day, we had our War Minds board game that we published. That was, almost a lot of the marketing and the visibility came from the showcases and things that they provided.
But it's hard if you have a game to figure out how to get it out in front of people. Like that's hard.
It is.
I've got me and my computer, how do I get people to see this thing?
And actually, for the people who are new, let me do say this. The mission of Sacramento Developer Collective is really for independent developers to kind of get more exposure to the outside world and to collaborate with other indie developers. One of the things that I saw when we were first just doing meetups was that basically as an independent developer, it was kind of difficult because you were learning things as you went. Like, how do I get my game out there? Who do I talk to get it published? Who do I talk to for marketing? And we were all separately kind of going our own way and learning the exact same things. So in a way, we were kind of recreating the wheel because somebody had already done it, and there was no reason why we couldn't just go talk to that person and say, well, how did you do it? So how'd that work out? So that peer level collaboration helps everybody in the community kind of grow because you have someone that you can go talk to if you had a question about, how do I form an LLC? How do I, create a Twitter account and get, my name out there and build up my following? All these kind of questions. How do I run a Kickstarter and make it successful? So we try to develop that level of support so that independent developers have a much greater chance of actually succeeding. And the visibility of our community is much larger than the visibility of one individual programmer. So we actually have a better chance of getting ID at Xbox or Amazon to kind of look at Sacramento because there's a lot of us and that draws a lot more attention. And so that's kind of our focus, to basically make it so that independent developers can survive in Sacramento. Any other questions? Thoughts, allegations?
Tons.
I saw there was a giant calendar that got put out for 2020, spreadsheet. And that was very exciting because I always want to see stuff calendared out way in advance. And that calendar, if we can agree to those dates or a lot of them and make them official and put it out, that'd be great.
Yeah, so we needed, the one thing that hasn't happened quite yet in 2020, we've done Global Game Jam, we've kicked off Progressive Game Jam, we've launched Dev Days. Our public communication, I mean, these two are basically constantly asking for webpage updates and stuff, which I haven't had time to do, but we do need to do that. We need to actually keep those up to date because that's our public communication. So those are the things that right now we just haven't been able to accomplish, and that needs to be our next focus. So I totally agree with you. We should have our 2020 calendar of events up there, and everybody know, and we have like, you know to go to the webpage or Facebook or whatever it is to find information about SACDEF Collective. So that is something that we are working on. And we'll get better at that, especially now that GTJ is over. That was a big event.
I think one thing I've been noticing is there's been people interested in hosting their own events, and it might not be as clear as to what the policy is with SDC in terms of getting support from us or running it on your own and marketing it in our spaces. Could you talk more about that?
Yeah, so the question was basically independent run events, what SDC can be a part of it, what's the policy or procedure for actually doing that. I can't give you an answer for that. That's something that us as the board will need to talk to. What I do think, and I agree with you for, because SDC can't take any, like say, legal responsibility for running it. If it's independently run, it's got to be independently run. That does not mean that we can't create a space for promotion. I mean, we have the Discord where obviously you can do that, but there's no reason why we can't have like a calendar of community events, kind of like, say, itch.io has all the different progressive or game jams that are being run. Those are all independently run. They just provide basically a landing page so that they can kind of market it and publish it. I see that we could probably do the same. It's web work. We'll have to figure out who's going to be doing all that web work.
Both. We want to create an image plus the web work necessary. So we got to create the poster, commission an artist or however.
What if someone,
Unless they do their own art. So.
Exactly.
what if someone wanted to help fundraise for SDC independently?
That would be them just donating them. Whatever their proceeds are, donate that to SDC.
I think
use PayPal.
fundraising activities, like hosting a fundraising event, may be something that we'll have to actually talk about. I don't know that you can do that without actually getting kind of sketchy, because like, so as a 501c3, there's certain parameters. We can't do anything illegal, right? Otherwise we'll lose our status. If someone were to host an independent, not run by SDC event and call it an SDC fundraiser, and they did something illegal, it could, because our name's kind of all over it, it's for the purpose of SDC, that could be kind of a potential problem. So we want to kind of be a little bit careful about independent events. They should be independent. And if like they want to actually donate proceeds or something like that, we could talk about that. But that's more of a board kind of discussion, I think.
I imagine third party people could propose it to the board says sure, and so that that way the board can have a presence there, and
Right.
so it can still be all set up, organized by a third party, so that it's very burden on SDC, but still within the SDC umbrella.
Right.
And hopefully if people are interested in doing things like that, that they've done a lot of the back work on it as well. That way we can actually be presented to the board and evaluated, because, one of the hardest things is like, hey, great, we love that you want to do something, but, there's a lot of things that they haven't done yet before they come to the board and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, being part of the board basically, and you all know who are on the board, it gives you a little bit more visibility into basically what it takes to actually run a corporation, stay legal and keep your status and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot more to it. When you have independent events and stuff like that, they're fun and we want them to grow. We want them to be big because that's a vibrant community that actually does that kind of stuff. And they should do that, and we'll actually support them as much as we can, but, making any official SDC connection to them is a little bit, touchy, because we gotta make sure that we follow the rules that are established for a corporation. The rules that are established for a corporation are not the same as an individual. An individual can do a lot more things and get away with it than a corporation can. Any other questions? Welcome, Andrew.
Howdy.
All right.